I love it when that happens. Everybody, what the heck? Hey, everybody, welcome to the Midwest City Council meeting. We call this meeting to order. It is now 6 o'clock. Glad everybody's here. We've got a lot going on this evening with some proclamations and stuff, so we'll go ahead and get started. I would like to ask Mr. Sullivan to come down and offer the invocation. I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll move on from there. Please stand.
Would you bow with me, please? Almighty Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this gorgeous day we've enjoyed today. And Father, we thank you for this occasion, these men and women who serve this city in the capacity of counselor. We thank you for their sacrifice and their dedication to this city. Father, they have decisions before them that require discernment and wisdom, and we ask that yours be upon them. Father, we ask that you continue to be with us in this great city. Thank you for blessing us with such a great state and also these United States of America. Father, we have men and women who are all over the world tonight who are on duty, ready to defend our freedoms, and we just ask that you give them peace and protection. Give their families comfort and peace while they're away. Father, we thank you so much for the peace and the freedom we enjoy through your Son, Jesus Christ's death on the cross. We thank you for the sacrifice. Thank you, Jesus, for being willing to go. We ask all these favors in your holy name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all. Be seated. Well, we have a ton of proclamations to do. I've been advised by Mr. Burns that the tip-off is at 6:30. I don't think we're going to make it, Mr. Burns, but we'll give it a shot. Can you hear me now? All right. Ms. Wilson, you want to come down? Y'all, this is Samantha Wilson. She's a police officer with the city of Midwest City. She followed her father's footsteps, who was a police officer for 30 years, Bill? Ooh. And she's made the decision to leave us and go do some other things, but that's okay. Whereas Police Sergeant Samantha Wilson began her career with the city of Midwest City as a rookie police officer in 2014, and by 2018 promoted to sergeant, and is retiring in 2024. Whereas from the beginning of her career, Sergeant Wilson has been known for her positive attitude, compassion, and patience when dealing with others, and always goes above and beyond to offer assistance to those who are in need, participating in such things like city annual food drive and volunteering for Special Olympics. Whereas her supervisors have reported that she's dependable and responsible with excellent reports, and Sergeant Wilson's proactive and innovative methods have led to the arrest of many criminals, not only in our community but others. Whereas through her actions, Sergeant Wilson demonstrates a commitment to the community policing process, staying current on crime trends in her district, and uses her unassigned time to provide quality service opportunities and special emphasis to businesses within her assigned district. Whereas she's been invaluable to the police department and community serving as a member of the Fatality Accident Investigation Squad, hostage negotiators, peer support group, and the Midwest City Homeless Outreach Program and Crisis Intervention Team. Whereas in recent years, her selfless, self-styled, and heart for others has led to several letters of commendation specifically for her leadership and unselfish giving of her time, personal resources, and talents to help others through very difficult times. So therefore, I, Matt Dukes, and Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim November 17th as Sergeant Samantha Wilson Day and ask that the citizens appreciate and thank her for her service to our community. Chief Lopez, come on down. Oh, this is Tony Lopez. I think you can tell he's a fireman. Tony and I have known each other a long time, right? Long time. That's okay. Whereas Anthony Tony Lopez began his career with the Midwest City Fire Department as a rookie firefighter in 1990 and is steadily promoted through the ranks throughout the 33 years of service and is retiring as Assistant Chief in 2023. And whereas from the beginning of his career, Assistant Chief Lopez has received accolades and gratitude letters for such things as helping remodel and repair our fire stations, serving as an honor guard in the honor guard, and assisting other fire departments during difficult situations or facilitating assessments and training. Whereas several of his supervisors over the years have reported that Tony takes the initiative, being totally responsible for and teaching the care and maintenance of equipment in his charge. Whereas he's especially known for his good attitude, ability to work well with others, his wisdom and knowledge, and most of all, his compassion and calm and demeanor, which is a great comfort to not only the victims, but his crew. Whereas Tony is also known outside the community as a great leader and philanthropist, which especially for Muscular Dystrophy Association. Whereas in recent years, Assistant Chief Lopez has served as acting fire chief when needed, handling all the workings of the Midwest City Fire Department, and always making decisions based on the best interests of the department, residents, and merchants of Midwest City. So therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim November 14th as Assistant Chief Tony Lopez Day and ask that all of our citizens express their appreciation for his 33 years of service to this community.
So in special recognition of Anthony Lopez for loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of the city of Midwest City, Oklahoma, July 2nd, 1990 through October 31st, 2023, 33 years of service. So it's kind of hard to believe you're already leaving. You know, it's been 33 years. You've been an awesome employee for this city. You know what's right. You always follow what's right. That's something I've always respected about you. And you are going to be missed. You're a voice of reason, and wish you well in your future, and wish you well with all the things you're going to do in your life. So, God bless you.
I hope we're recruiting. Glenn, come on down, buddy. Y'all, this is Glenn Presley. He's been with the city for quite a while and he's retiring. What are you going to do? Nothing. You're pretty point blank on that one, right? Well, Glenn's done an amazing job for our community. And whereas Glenn Presley began his career with the City of Midwest City in 2003 in the line maintenance as a laborer 1, within 2 years he promoted to crew leader 1. In 2006, transferred to construction inspector, and now is retiring as chief construction inspector after 21 dedicated years of service. Whereas a leader, he has set high expectations for his crew and took time to train them on all different processes of the job to ensure that they had opportunity to develop, provide excellent service, and promote in the future. Whereas Glenn is known for his great teamwork and adaptability, and his supervisors have reported that he is an invaluable and essential employee with an excellent communication skills. Whereas due to his quality of work, knowledge, intuition, and preventive initiative, Glenn has saved the city money, misfortune, and long-term maintenance issues over the years. So therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim November 15th is Glenn Presley Day in the City of Midwest City, and please express your appreciation to his hard work and dedication to this community.
So in special recognition of Glenn Presley for loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of the City of Midwest City, Oklahoma, March 2003 through April 2024. What makes it neat about Glenn is he is the second generation Midwest City employee. His dad worked here as the city engineer. And we have Glenn's son, Sean, who's here in the city. Hopefully he'll be at the same place. Hopefully he won't be moving when he moves out. Pray that as well. But Glenn, you're a great employee and a good man.
Will the stormwater folks come on down? You can smile. Y'all, this is a little-known crew that works very hard in the City of Midwest City. They're stormwater folks, and they go around doing nice things like checking grease traps in restaurants and doing all that nasty stuff that we are required to do, but they do an excellent job in protecting the city and making sure that our systems are all running. And so with that being said, whereas National Municipal Stormwater Alliance has established November 16th as National Stormwater Day to commemorate the establishment of the National Municipal Separate Stormwater System program on November 16th, 1990. I don't know who writes it. You did fine. Whereas a major source of pollutants in Oklahoma's waterways is polluted and untreated urban and suburban stormwater runoff that flows directly into our rivers, lakes, and streams. Whereas the goal of the MS4 program is to reduce the discharge of polluted stormwater runoff through the implementation of stormwater control measures, thus preventing damage to vital ecosystems, contamination of drinking water resources, and distribution of recreational activities. Whereas National Stormwater Day not only recognizes the establishment of the MS4 program, but also celebrates the highlights of many efforts around the country to increase the awareness of stormwater, including those here in Midwest City. And if you hadn't heard or hadn't had the lecture on fog, which is fats, oils, and grease, you need to. Whereas the City of Midwest City has a successful MS4 program since 2005 and is recognizing this day that provides an opportunity to encourage greater efforts across Midwest City to reduce stormwater pollution. So therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim Thursday, November 16th as National Stormwater Day, and ask that you get educated on what all this is about. Thanks for working so hard. You can't afford that ticket, Mark. Okay, and the last one. And this is important because we have a lot of family-owned businesses. As a matter of fact, one of them is represented here from Underground, Whitney. Family-owned small businesses are the backbone of our economic system in the United States. And we need to celebrate them and also buy from them. So, whereas, Brittany, come on down since you're a representative. I know. Okay. This is Brittany from the Underground. Best coffee shop in the city. Whereas Small Business Saturday is a nationwide movement to support small local businesses and celebrate it on Saturday following Thanksgiving. And according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 32 million small businesses in the United States. And whereas small businesses are responsible for 62% of new jobs created since 1995, and small businesses employ 46% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. And whereas 72% of consumers reported that Small Business Saturday 2022 made them want to shop and dine in small independently owned retailers and restaurants all year long. Whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at a small business creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. Whereas Midwest City wishes to celebrate our local small businesses and contributions they make to our local economy and community. So therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim Small Business Saturday in November and urge everyone to participate and shop at the small businesses. There you go. Okay, another party trick. Well, that was a bunch, huh? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These items are placed.
Announcements.
Oh, Mr. Lyon, community-related announcements. I'm trying to help.
Prepared
I'm trying to help your.
announcement.
I'm trying to help Mr. Byrne out.
All right. So speaking of small business and the impact on our community, I want to start with our sales tax report for the month of November. So for the city of Midwest City, we were, versus the same time last year, we were up 3.93% for our community. And if I compare that to the 10 other cities in our community in the metro area, we're number 3 out of 10. So there were 7 other cities that did worse than us. We were one of the top cities. So thank you to the small businesses in Midwest City, because it's important that we we support our small business because it supports us. So thank you guys. Another very positive event that occurred last weekend, or I guess it's the 3rd through the 5th, I've lost track of time here. Our annual food drive to help Midwest City residents at the Sam's Club on November 3rd through the 5th was a massive success. We collected 35 pallets compared to last year. I think we collected 30 or 31. 27. We collected 27, and this year we collected 35 pallets of food at the food drive. So special thanks to Tinker Air Force Base for donating $1,250 in cash on top of that to go with specifically for turkeys for the food baskets. And there were other donations. How much do we get, Mike? $2,000 worth of cash donations on top of 35 pallets of food. So great job to the Code Enforcement Department, Neighborhood Services. We will be able to feed some very needy families in our community. Thank you to everyone who participated in the annual Veterans Day Parade to honor our veterans. We maxed out the number of entries, and as far as I could tell, it was one of the best turnouts we've ever had. We ran out of candy, and we doubled our candy last year, and we ran out of candy when we made the turn onto Midwest Boulevard. So Jill's going to get more candy next year because we're going to make it all the way through this. It was awesome. So thank you to the community for their support, and thank you to all the entries into the parade. You can see some great pictures. The Citizens Advisory Committee on Housing and Community Development would like to hear from you at a public hearing they will be conducting on Monday, November 27th at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chambers on housing and community development needs in our community. It's very important to receive this feedback, as the feedback is included in our fiscal 24 action plan for HUD Community Development Block Grants, the CDBG funding that improves housing, neighborhoods, and provide community services and economic opportunities for low to moderate income in our citizens and for our citizens. Thanksgiving holiday will impact the following services offered by Public Works. Trash and recycling for November 23rd will be picked up the day before on November 22nd, so please have your carts and recycling out a day in advance if you're a Thursday pickup. Friday routes will run normally as scheduled. The compost facility will be closed on Thursday, November 23rd and Saturday, November 25th. Household hazardous waste facility will be closed on Friday, November 24th. If you have any questions, contact the Public Administration Office at 739-1066. Mark your calendars to join us on Thursday, November 30th at 5:30 p.m. for our annual Light the City with Mayor Dukes and the Grinch. Then we're going to walk the lights and enjoy hot chocolate, some delicious treats. It's a fee of $5. Children 5 and under are free, but for $5 you can walk the lights. And it's an awesome opportunity without any traffic to take your family and walk through and enjoy the lights. Holiday lights will, from that point forward, will run until December 25th, so November 30th to December 25th. Anyone using the Northeast 23rd Street between North Spencer Road and North Douglas Boulevard needs to be aware of potential closures, especially in the evenings. So strikes have been resolved in the entertainment industry, so filming may resume on the movie being produced in Midwest City and Spencer. We expect routine overnight closures on Northeast 23rd Street beginning on or about Tuesday, December 5th and lasting through Sunday, December 10th. So it'll be leery of those closures as they continue now to film. Everyone's seen the rodeo grounds that's out there, and it hasn't been blown over by a tornado yet. So there's still work to be done out there. Tickets are now on sale for the annual Martin Luther King Prayer Breakfast. It'll be held on Monday, January 15th, 2024 at 7:30 a.m. 7:30 a.m., Sarah, did you hear that? Okay. At the Reed Conference Center, Colonel Stephanie Wilson, Colonel Stephanie Wilson, former base commander for Tinker, who now is the head of civil engineering at the base. Very amazing leader in our community, will be the featured speaker. Tickets for the event are $30 each or $300 for a table of 8, and are available through the Eventbrite website and at the Midwest City Community Center. Sponsorships also are available. For more information, contact Don Meisch at 739-1203. It's a great event. That, Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move into the consent agenda. These items are placed in the consent agenda. So the trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items beyond one motion. Is any trustee request? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Now moving into our discussion items. Mr. Ryan, discussion item number 1.
Discussion, consideration. Excuse me. Discussion, consideration, possible action of electing a vice mayor.
Sir, entertain the motion as
I move to renominate Pat as our vice mayor.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstention, motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Ryan. You have to roll call vote. Okay, no problem. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion item number 2, Mr. Ryan.
Discussion, consideration, possible action of approving a new ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, City Council, adopting a new ordinance at Section 2-13.1, additional filing requirements for regular and special primary and general elections for City Council, and providing for repealer and severability and emergency. Mr. Meisch.
Thank you, members of the City Council. This is a request based on some issues that we have had in the past to gather additional information when a person wants to run for City Council. We are allowed to do this under state statute, which is in Title 11, Section 8-113, and in Title 26. What they basically say is that we can place in a proclamation any additional information that we want, provided we don't require the county election board or the county election board secretary to do anything. So it requires us as a city then to take the action and place it upon our able city clerk to gather that information. So in the proclamation that you'll read, which is about number 12 or 13 on our list, we've added a set of about 3 additional questions that we're going to ask to ascertain a couple of things. One is, if a person runs, does it impact any contracts that the city has based on that individual? Or secondly, whether we have any contracts with any businesses that a candidate may have a proprietary interest in. Proprietary interest is defined in state statute as having 25% or more ownership into that business. So this is being put forward. As Mr. Lyon stated, there is an emergency clause on this so that it can go into effect immediately. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Meisch, I do have at least 2 immediate questions. Was this ordinance, did it go before the ordinance review committee?
It did not, no.
It did not. I have a more concerning question that seems to be a repeat question. Would you be able to answer whether or not former Councilwoman Bain or in the future, any Middale employee would be able to run as a candidate and serve on this council without a future potential conflict of interest at this point?
At this moment in time, based on the information that we have received from outside counsel, that would have to be something that would be decided on a case-by-case basis. So given those specific situations, I cannot answer your second question. Obviously, we are working to try to resolve that issue, but at this moment in time, like I said, it would be based on a individual case-by-case situation. What this does is it does not preclude anybody from filing as a candidate for office, and I want to make sure that that is very clear to everybody. This does not preclude anybody from filing for office. What it does, though, it gives the city the information to say, okay, if this person does file for office and if this person is elected, it could impact contracts that the city has with outside vendors, some of those being potentially the Middale School District.
So I read the proposed ordinance, and it is my perception based on the language that it's drafted in. It does not seem to me that it reasonably or logically actually addresses the issue at the core issue. It does assign the city clerk to ask the 3 questions, and it would be my understanding that Councilwoman Bain would have said, I work for Middale. She nor her husband owned 25% of Middale Technology, so that would have cleared her. And then was she a business, had any ownership of a business? She would have obviously passed through those 3 questions with flying colors. Yet later we realized that it was determined by the first legal opinion that she did have a conflict of interest, and then later by a supplemental legal opinion that no, she did not have a conflict, and at least that's my understanding of their reading. Second matter.
Yes. Yes.
No, it was the second opinion was provided by Mr. Williams himself, who then had a change of opinion from the first, and we can go through the details of that. But it designates the clerk to basically collect these questions, and then in the language of the memo, and I believe maybe even the ordinance, it then says the city council would then determine whether there is a conflict of interest.
Actually, no, it does not require that the city council determine any type of conflict. What it does is it allows the city to then look at that specific factual situation, find out if any contracts are potentially impacted, and then make that information available to the public.
I'm open to having more discussion with this, but I would like to propose that we strike the language of the agenda item as prescribed and amended by adding that a question be drafted and submitted to the Attorney General. And that question would be basically generality of, was the former councilwoman's service a conflict of interest, and can a Middale employee or a public servant who serves on another government entity also serve in the city council in the future? I would also suggest that our candidates' ethics reports that are filed with the city clerk be the documents that are publicized online as a matter of transparency. I know there are some municipalities that do that as a matter of fact. I would also ask that the council and the general public be advised and updated on the drafting of the question to the Attorney General's office, and that we also set the deadline of completing the drafting of the question and submission by no later than January 20th of 2024. And I make this motion because it is my understanding and recollection that the previous city council meetings that we had, the city council asked the city manager to draft the question and submit it to the Attorney General's office, and this was in June. Yes, sir.
My understanding is we cannot, as a city, that we're going to represent it has to be our state rep or our state senator. So if we put something like that timeline, it's an arbitrary number that can never be achieved, because we can't directly send a petition to the AG. It has to go from a state senator or a state rep. And if we did something like that, we have no control over when they send something out.
Well, I think the deadline, it's not like any of us are going to go to jail if we don't meet the deadline. I think it's a hope deadline.
Because we're not in charge of what a state rep or a state senator, when they decide to send it, if they decide to send it to the AG.
It is my concern that it is a commitment that was, one, it was a decision that was collectively made by this body. It was a commitment that was made to the previous councilwoman. Multiple city officials have also gone on record publicly that a question will be submitted to the Attorney General's office.
We don't have any control of that.
But we do, because there
Can I-
are over 100 elected officials within this within this state, and as the city manager has stated publicly, this is a matter that affects statewide decisions. So I have a hard time believing that no elected official in this state would be interested in the ethical subject matter.
But
Let me,
my point goes to the fact of, if we do an arbitrary thing that we have zero control over, it's just a bunch of words that we voted on that are meaningless, because we don't have any say over when it will or will not be sent.
Can I ask you a question? Do we have a recollection? It's my recollection that prior to publicizing the legal opinions through media, we decided that we would release, this body voted to release the two legal opinions to OMAC and OMLA, with the premise that those two entities would be able to expedite us getting clarity in submitting this question to the Attorney General's
But that's
office.
totally something different than what we're discussing.
And there's been a lack of accountability
Let
on
me,
this
let me
subject.
clarify a few
Yes, sir.
issues to kind of clear the air. Number one, the opinion is being drafted currently. We're following through with that promise, and we are. It is, or the question is being drafted to submit to the AG. And as soon as that language gets back to us, it will be submitted. We have contacted our state senator, and she has agreed to carry that forward, number one. So we're following through with what we promised. And these questions are not arbitrary. These are questions that are pertinent to prevent something from happening again. And again, to give us notice in case we run into this again. The issue with Ms. Bain was totally unexpected. Nobody expected it. And actually, as it turned out, the issue was with the school system, not in particularly us. We need to move on this because the election filing date is coming up. And I assure you that we're following through with exactly what we promised to do. So,
Again, Mayor, I do not believe that this resolution addresses the core matter. The reason we ran into this problem or this dilemma was because John Michael Williams, who was paid, an outside law firm who was paid $17,000 of tax-paying dollars, came out with two contradicting legal opinions. And generally what was concluded was that there are multitudes of Attorney General opinions on this matter, and that there is no way to predict what the current Attorney General will state on this subject matter. So what we're doing here is an attempt to create unnecessary policies that don't address the core problem and attempting to maneuver around the Attorney General, where I think it is in the public's interest, in the interest of this body, and the interest of ethical governance that we take this question to the source, which is the Attorney General, who has a duty to respond to this question based on the precedent of the history of the legal opinions that are out there.
let me, okay, and if you recall, you're right, there are several Attorney General opinions on this, and they contradict each other. That's why we find ourselves in the position of not being able to find what is direct or indirect conflict of interest. So what we're trying to do is being proactive, moving the city forward. Now, if the AG comes down and says, well, see, you're all wrong, then we'll go back and undo it. But we are trying to be proactive to prevent any further issues for our city and the election process. So in that point, we are trying to be as transparent as we possibly can. And this is an attempt to prevent any further issues.
So
Again,
Sarah
if the
makes-
Attorney General comes down and says, see, you're wrong, you need to pull this, or you need to rewrite this, then that's exactly what we'll do. But we do have an election coming up, and we do have the obligation to prevent that from happening. And also, the charter is one of the biggest issues that we're going to have to get over.
But the issue isn't the charter, because the Attorney General's ruling and state statute and the state constitution override our charter. So if the Attorney General ends up disagreeing or agreeing with our charter, we have to end up going with what the Attorney General ends up dictating. I have a question for the city manager. I heard some conversation or some statements made that the question is in the works. Now, it was my understanding that the question was in the works somewhere around June. Do we have a deadline or a time frame of when this question will be finalized? And then maybe a hoped deadline of when we expect to have this submitted to the Attorney General? And I would also propose that I know that a few elected officials their names have been thrown around. I would also like to mention that Ward 5 falls within other jurisdictions. So there are other elected officials within the Senate who may be able to champion this question to the Attorney General's office, should it be that the ones that we are maybe in discussions with are opposed to leading this question forward.
Respectfully, I'm going to call the question, and I'm going to move to approve this item as it is written currently. I appreciate the discussion and the questions that you're bringing forth, Councilwoman Banna. However, at this point in time, we don't have the answers to that information, and you are exactly correct. If the issue is going to be presented to the Attorney General and the Attorney General will issue an opinion on the issue, that could become outcome determinative. But as we sit here today on November the 14th of 2023, we don't know that, and we do have an upcoming election in the spring. Whether or not the Attorney General gets us a response by that time or not, we don't know. And so the questions that you have about the issue going, I think, is appropriate for a conversation with perhaps the city manager and the mayor to know that issue. But with regard to this particular discussion, at this point, I'm going to move to approve the item as written, and I'm also going to go ahead and jump ahead, if the city attorney will allow me to move to approve the emergency clause on it, because we do have a pending election.
Can I just add
Those have to be two separate issues. And Mr. Meitz, I think, were you making that in the form of a motion?
Yes, so my motion was to strike the proposed language and amend it by adding that a question be drafted and submitted to the Attorney General's office, that the candidate's ethics report, which we all have had to file with the city clerk, be publicized online and accessible as a matter of transparency to the general public. And number 3, that a deadline be created. I'm willing to negotiate, however, the councilwoman's suggested proposition
would you
there
consider pulling your
is a
motion?
contradiction. I would like to get clarity from Mr. Lyon, though, on the questions I proposed, and I understand that the councilwoman suggested
From a
that.
parliamentary procedure, we need to put this.
She's got a motion, call for a second, there's no second, so we can move to.
That's where I'm moving to, Mr. Reed, if
But
you
my
allow me
questions
to.
were submitted to Mr. Lyon prior to her motion being made, and the reason I'm making those questions public, because this is a public discussion, and this is a public matter, and it is a relevant matter to the electorate, who we must respect, and it is a matter of usurpation by this body of the electorate's power, and the right to political participation is what I'm perceiving here, and that is my fear. So if Mr. Lyon could clarify where we are with the drafting of that question, so we have public transparency, and when, if ever, we hope to have a state senator champion this question to the Attorney General's office.
We do have a motion made by Ms. Banna. Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion has failed due to the lack of a second. Ms. Eads, you want to make your motion?
I'm going to reassert my motion that we approve the item as written at this time.
I'm going to second it with one comment. I don't disagree with some of the stuff that you're saying, but I think you're bringing in outside stuff that doesn't pertain to this exact thing. We have an election coming up, and I think doing right by the people that are getting ready to run and to our voters is way more important than trying to re-argue what happened, unfortunately, to Mrs. Bain having to step down. They're two separate issues at this point. I make a second.
And that was my point. Again, I don't disagree with Councilwoman Banna's commentary. It's just not germane to where we're going at this time, because we can't dictate the answer given the process that's being utilized, which is why I was asking if Councilwoman Banna wants to have the conversation in public, but that we maybe just kind of informally table the conversation on where it's headed.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second.
Just if I could respond to that, with all due respect, and I appreciate everything and everyone's, ethical dialogue and discourse on this and input. But I want to reemphasize that we've known about these elections for months, and we've known about this dilemma for months. And there was a commitment and a direction given by this body to our city leadership, and we have not carried through on that. So the rush we're putting ourselves in is a part of our own negligence, if you will.
And negligence is a strong word. I disagree, because they have taken it to OML, they have taken it to...
Okay, I do have a motion
several-
and I have a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Eads,
Yes.
Byrne,
Yes.
Dawkins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Banna,
Nay.
Favors,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. There is an emergency attached to this particular item, Ms. Eads.
Again, going to reassert my previously alluded to motion to approve the emergency clause implementation.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Eads,
Yes.
Byrne,
Yes.
Dawkins.
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Banna,
Nay.
Favors,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We move on to item number 3, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving an ordinance amending Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 9, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 1, in general, Section 9-3, Building and Dwelling Addresses, Article 7, Sign Regulations, Section 9-382, Definitions, Section 9-391, Temporary Signs, Section 9-394, Illegal, Non-Conforming, Deteriorating, Vacant Signs, and providing for repealer and severability. Mr. Meisch, these are number 3 through number 11 are all from the Ordinance Review Committee.
Right, so this one did go before the Ordinance Review Committee. The Ordinance Review Committee did recommend to this body that these changes be approved. What these changes do in general is they add digital signs to our ordinances to allow the erection of and the use of digital signs. It does one other thing. In 9-3, it removes the requirement for, on residences, that a address be placed on the dwelling itself. And when we get down into 37-6, which is a ways further, the guts of that gets placed into the ordinance, which basically will be that as long as the address is front-facing and either on the dwelling of the residence or on the mailbox structure and it's facing the street, then you have an either-or there. So,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving an ordinance amending Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 20, Housing Code, Article 4, Rental Property, Sections 20-204, Definitions, taking out a reserve and adopting Sections 20-205, 20-206, 207, 208, 209, 210, reserved, amending 211, crime-free rental housing program, repealing and placing into reserve 20-221, crime-free multi-housing program, and providing for repealer and severability.
Move to approve.
Well, there's one part of that I would like to discuss, if that's okay, just to bring to your attention. Part 21 on that, it's kind of like a restriction that I just wonder how feasible it is. It says if the owner and/or manager of the short-term rental does not reside within the corporate city limits of the city of Midwest City, then there shall be identify an individual or individuals to serve as a local contact to respond to emergency conditions. I just wondered if those same conditions are set for folks who do regular leasing. People go on vacation. There's a lot of folks who own property in Midwest City and maybe don't necessarily live here. Maybe they live in Edmond. I just didn't know if those were, real high standards we're setting. The expectation of any property owner is that if they're not responsive, the city has and reserves the right to respond adequately. I just wanted to be fair, I guess.
I don't believe for a standard rental facility, there are contact people who are identified for apartment complexes and things like that. Just so everyone knows, when these were written, I reviewed the ordinances for Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Broken Arrow, Norman, and Stillwater. This is primarily what Stillwater does. I use that as the framework and then put the others into it. So I do know that Stillwater and Edmond have this requirement in there as well. I don't remember, I think Oklahoma City does too. So it is something that other municipalities require as well.
So I do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm open to it stood out to me as a very high level or standard to meet, and I just didn't know if we're being fair to, anyone that regularly rents, right, versus somebody who's doing short-term leasing, so I just thought I'd bring it up to your attention, but I'm okay with approving it if no one else sees that as an alarm or a red flag.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 5, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion possible action of approving an ordinance amending Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 23, manufactured homes, trailers, manufactured home parks, etc., Article 4, manufactured homes and travel trailer park regulations, Division 3, sanitary facilities, Section 23-11, waste to be discharged in public or private sewer or septic tank, Section 23-114, private sewage system requirements, Section 23-112, use of sewage system required, Division 4, water supply, Section 23-124, private water sources must be approved, Section 23-131, drinking fountains to be approved by a health officer, Division 5, refuse disposal, Section 23-146, collection and disposal requirements, Division 6, insect and rodent control, Section 23-154, control measures to be used, Section 23-155, use of visitable solutions, whatever that is.
It's larvicidal.
There you go. You know how to pronounce it? What does it mean?
Oh, larvicidal, it's a solution used to kill larvae in various states, generally in water, if I remember right. Yeah,
All right.
it's been a while. That goes back to my DEQ days. And
Section 156, measures to control additional insects or weeds may be required, and Section 158, rodent extermination required, providing for repealer and severability.
Move to approve?
I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Now you know what it's like to read those proclamations. Item number 6.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving an ordinance amending Midwest City Code, Chapter 24, motor vehicles and traffic, Article 3, traffic control devices, signals, etc., Section 2460, manual and specifications for traffic control devices, providing for repealer and severability.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 7.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving an ordinance amending Midwest City Code, Chapter 37, streets and sidewalks, Article 3, transportation plan, Division 2, standards and requirements, Section 37-63, design standard for egress facilities, Division 4, tables, Section 37-71, Table 4, Article 4, work affecting streets, Section 37-86, permits required for fee, display, and providing for repealer and severability.
Move to approve?
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 8.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving an ordinance amending Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 37, streets and sidewalks, Article 1, in general, Section 37-6, building and dwelling addresses.
Well, can we make an amendment, or would you guys be willing to consider an amendment on that? On Section 1A, there's a 48-hour requirement for response after a notice is posted. Just to be, again, fair to our residents, there are a lot of folks who don't even come home within a 48-hour time frame, whether they're working or whether they're on vacation or whether, they even pick up the mail and maybe they don't read the mail or whatever it may be. Could we change that 48 hours to 7 days? And I know that the citation is only $1 per day, but I just think 7 days would be fair versus 48 hours. Basically asking to see if we could amend.
But the argument that you use is one day we use it somebody who has a student. Or a student that they can control.
I don't have an argument against that. I just thought it would be more fair than the 2-day time frame. I will tell you, I spent about a week and a half at the hospital myself just 2-3 weeks ago. I didn't check mail was the last thing. I mean, I probably walked in and out, didn't even pick mail out of the mailbox.
I guess my concern is the inverse, what does happen in the interim as far as with the infraction, continuing during that period of time. And it is not something that comes with a significant exorbitant cost, for that period. So, I mean, respectfully, I'm okay with the time referenced.
Is it 48 hours, 48 hours or 2 business?
It would be 48 hours. If we stated 2 business days in the ordinance, then it would be 2 business days. But since it says 48 hours, it's actually 48 hours. It's a notice from the Fire Prevention Bureau that triggers this. I don't know, Bert, is there any state requirement on this? Okay.
I think 5 days. If you can't do them, I would be somebody just about figure how much Wednesday at 8 o'clock at night, they have no money to use because nobody's going to be thinking about Saturday or Sunday. So what if it is 5 days? Not business days, but just 5 days. Because I think it's a business day that 2 days you could make a trip to watch AUD Texas or should you know you or should you do by UCF. Then you go for 2 days, get back. I understand that OSU goes to okay, Matt?
No, get it. I'm just waiting on,
Kansas, so you know, I can feel it. I would do okay with 5 days if you got it. I'm not ready for it, but I think it could be something like that.
Let's defer this to Mr. City Attorney.
According to our fire chief, there's no issue. This is an issue that is set by city ordinance. So discretion is with the city council to make a decision on how long it. Obviously, this was not something that was requested to be changed when the request came through, but it is purely at the discretion of the city council. There's 2 ways to handle it. One is you could vote on it today and make a change, or what I would propose is if you don't mind, let's take it back. Let's see what other cities are doing. We'll have another ordinance review committee here in 2 to 3 months, and depending on what other cities do, we can bring a change to the ordinance review committee and then back to the city council.
Is that your preference?
That would be my preference, yes.
And Dawn, please, I'm negotiable on, if we need to backtrack the fees. So if people are just being lazy, negligent, or responsible, then the $5 kicks in. But just to
Sure.
be flexible with people, that we are allowing
Absolutely.
enough time. for them
Give
to
us,
respond.
within the administration, give us a chance to go take a look. Let me do some research, find out what other cities are doing in this
so is your
situation.
preference not to take any action or table it?
The answer would be to pass this as presented here today, and then I'll go back and I'll do some research, find out what other cities are doing, and bring that information back to the ordinance review committee and ultimately to the city council.
So
Chair to entertain a motion.
Move to approve with what Dawn articulated. Wonderful.
Okay, first, I believe I moved to approve the item as written, so I'm going to withdraw my motion. And then Councilwoman Banna has put a new motion on the floor, which I'm going to second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. I was going to say,
Opposed?
Susan, I'm not going to be able to repeat what he just said.
Abstention, motion carries. Item number 9, Mr. Lyons.
Discussion, consideration, possible action of approval of an ordinance amending Midwest City Code, Chapter 38, subdivision regulations, Article 6, subdivision standards, Section 3847, sidewalks, and providing for repealer and severability.
Any questions of Mr. Bundy?
Is this a ADA requirement that we're going to a 5-foot instead of,
Yes, and we're cleaning up a conflicting ordinance that's in a different chapter.
so,
Which, that's been my gripe about this, and when we had a conversation on this before, on this issue, and our discussion of the ordinance review is it isn't required by the ADA at this point to go 5 feet officially, but if you don't get to 5 feet, if you stay at 4, then you have to install, help me, Mr. Bundy, passing lanes?
Passing zones or
Passing zones, thank you. So, I fully appreciate this, and this is an issue that we face with some fervor in my ward because they're small lots. So if you go to put a 5-foot wide sidewalk through the middle of a small lot where you already have an existing, water meter, et cetera, in the ground and trees in the ground that have been there for, up to 70 years, then you've got issues. That being said, welcome to the wave of the future, my friends. So we kind of are where we are with this, and because of what we adopted previously, because this was a question that I raised and we had some extensive discussion, and Mr. Bundy was out of town that night, so our city attorney got the brunt of this conversation placed upon him to take a look at, and because there are other places in our ordinance that already include this language with regard to the set widths, et cetera, to prevent confusion between different ordinance sections, here we are. I just stole your job, sorry.
So,
You did good.
entertain a motion.
well, I just have
Okay.
a question. So what are we going to do in areas where we've got 4 foot and they build a new home or something, and then we're going to do require a 5-foot?
This is when constructing new sidewalks, so existing sidewalks can stay where they are. It's when you touch them, you've got to.
No, his point is, what if you have a sidewalk and an empty lot with no sidewalk, and somebody builds that new house? And the sidewalk here and the sidewalk here are 4-foot sections. Are we going to make the new guy have a 5-foot section that will look goofy? I think I speak Rick pretty well.
That is correct.
Okay.
I apologize, I've got a cold.
Yes,
It's like a ventriloquist act y'all got going on over there.
in that case, we would require a 5-foot sidewalk, and there are sections all over the city where we go from 4 foot to 5 foot to back to 4 foot. And sometimes we make that work pretty well that you can't even notice. Sometimes.
Do you not notice because you're the same person that painted those lines?
That's out of order.
And thank you for acknowledging KU winning the game.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bundy.
Oh, he's forever going to get given a hard time.
With all due respect, I'm going to move to approve this item as much as I don't like it, and so
Thank
we
you for
can
bringing
get off
us
the hot
back to
seat,
some
please.
semblance of...
I'll
Somebody?
second that motion.
I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Next item, Mr. Lyons.
Discussion, consideration of possible action approving an ordinance amending Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 43, Water, Sewage, Sewer Disposal, Stormwater Quality, Article 3, Sewers and Sewage Disposal Division, 10, Sewer Mainline Backup Service Program, Section 43-251, Provisions 43-254 fees, and providing for repealer and severability.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. On next item.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Appendix A, zoning regulations, Section 7, development review procedures, Part 7.6, special use permits, Subpart 7.6.3, criteria for special permit approval and providing for repealer and severability.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. I do have a request from the city clerk, ladies and gentlemen, that if we change anything in a motion, that we restate it so she can clear it up as she writes it. So if we change anything, just make sure we restate the motion. Next item.
Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve a resolution and proclamation authorizing the calling and holding of a primary election on February 13th, 2024, if necessary, and a general election, if necessary, on April 2nd, 2024, in wards 2, 3, 4, and 6 of the city of Midwest City, County of Oklahoma, State of Oklahoma, enumerating the qualifications for those officers and establishing the filing period.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to
Abstention,
vote
motion-
aye on that as well, sorry. The holdup on that is, again, I'm for the entire resolution. Again, just my concern is those three questions aren't going to address the issue we
Understood.
discussed earlier.
Roll call vote.
Eads,
Yes.
Byrne, Dawkins, Reed,
Sure.
Vanna,
Aye.
Favors. You mean nay?
No, she said she was voting for it.
She
Oh,
said she wasn't, you pulled the trigger too soon.
okay.
Well, pardon me.
Favors.
Mayor says yes. Next item, Mr. Lyons.
Discussion and consideration of possible action approving an American Rescue Plan Act grant agreement between the City of Midwest City and the Oklahoma Water Resources Board in the amount of $2 million to develop a citywide master plan, plans and construct two 12-inch water lines, as well as other related expenses.
Move to approve?
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Thank you for being here, Mr. Streets, and you look dapper this evening. Next item.
Yeah, and great job to Carrie and Paul on handling this one. Yes, good job, Carrie. Number 14, discussion, consideration of possible action to enter into a professional services agreement with TSW Planners, Architects, and Landscape Architects of Atlanta, Georgia, in an amount not to exceed $1,144,020 for design and construction documents, bidding and construction administration, and optional services for security, telecom, and AV systems for part of the southeast quarter of Section 34, Township 12, North, Range 2, West Indian Meridian, a.k.a. the Hospital District. This is the contract. Matt Summers is here. Brandon Bundy have been working with Katie O'Meara, who's Amelia. I always say it wrong. Okay. With TSW, they have an office here in Oklahoma. Regarding the Hospital District, we're at a point where we're ready to move forward with the construction documents, and it's been negotiated by staff. So go ahead, Matt.
Well, Sean, before you make a motion, and I support this is a big deal for the city. And we have somebody from TSW here and Matt. I'd kind of like them to explain, because this is a huge step for the city to get not only the hospital, but the hospital district started. So
This contract would take us, as Mr. Lyon alluded to, it would take us to the point of construction, essentially. The contract would get us from sort of the schematic phase that we're at right now. It would get us, fully realized and fleshed out construction documents, bidding services, and construction administration would be a part of the contract as well. So yes, we would start to see, earth getting turned by the end of the contract.
Awesome.
in TSW, if you say what your part in this
Katie's
is.
here. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is really an exciting project, and we have been working with you all since 2021. So this is a long time coming. A lot of hours and thought and work have been done, not just by our team, but by a steering committee comprised of staff, hospital staff as well, But yeah, the process kicked off with a master plan and a code in 2021. We did public engagement as part of that process. We had branding as part of that process. And this past year, we wrapped up the schematic phase. So basically taking that master plan and fleshing out a lot of the more design details for the streetscapes, the new park, the new trails. But really, ultimately, what this contract does is move us to that construction phase where we start realizing the vision that we've had for several years. So it's very exciting, and we're thrilled to be a part of it with you all and to see it come to fruition.
Thank you very much. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So while I appreciate this item, the content, the development of the hospital district and all of the things, I have to say as a point of discussion that I have a real concern with this agenda item to spend in excess of $1.1 million right now when we have a moratorium on building to the east of us because we don't have a plan for the issues that we have with the sewer system over there. To go forward with spending this money in the hospital district right now, to me, is problematic until we figure out what our situation is, because we operate as a city as a whole, not in sections. And so with that, I'm going to let the item move forward as, yes. That's not my concern, just to clarify, Councilman Reed. Okay, sorry. Okay.
No, it flows by gravity directly to the plant.
So, would you go through the comments that I'm going to address in particular? I don't necessarily disagree with you on section. Just because you can't tell us one section doesn't mean because of an issue, doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to another. You can have that thing.
And my contrary point to that is with $1.1 million, we could start to address what was put before us previously to address the sewer situation to the east, to allow building to resume to the east, particularly when we know that we're faced with problems as a result of that moratorium on building. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Please. Yeah, it could jeopardize our contract with SSM, but let me point something out. This money is budgeted through the hospital authority, and it's budgeted through compounded principal. There's very few things you can spend compounded principal on, and this is one of those things. So it is a budgeted item.
So then why is it on the city council agenda? Why didn't it come up under hospital authority?
Dawn? I thought we did move it to the hospital. We didn't?
Tia.
Yeah.
Tia.
Hang on, go ahead.
Is he ducking in the back?
He was back there having fun with the trees. Come on, man.
You can't spend
At their full
the
cost.
sewer.
And we couldn't spend compounded interest on the sewer.
No.
Correct, we can't. So the question comes to, if this is hospital authority money, why is it not on the hospital authority of the development of the council?
Good question.
First question is, good.
Me personally, I didn't put the call on.
I think we need to take no action and move it to the next council meeting, because we talked about this, and I think it just didn't get moved.
You're right, we did talk about this, and I think it accidentally got placed on the city council agenda and should have been placed on the hospital
Because
authority agenda.
if I could, I'm sorry, didn't mean to overspeak you, Dawn. But again, if this money is pre-budgeted and it's coming out of the hospital authority
is.
funds, that
You're right.
eliminates what my concern is, but since it's on the city council agenda, you see where I'm coming from with it?
Point
So-
well taken, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can't take action.
We need to,
Yeah. We talked about moving this, and we just didn't get it done. It's on us.
Is this
Let's just take no action, we'll put it back on the hospital authority.
And
Is
so
this
do you
gonna
wanna
jeopardize
elaborate
anything that
to
we've
the
got going?
general public
No,
as
this-
to why we have to do that because of the Open Meetings Act? of
No, it's
why
because
we
it's
can't
in the
take
trust.
action?
It's in the wrong trust.
right, In other words, you have to take the action as a trustee, not as a city council member.
But we can't take action on it the way it's written on the agenda because it may be potentially a violation of
The Open Records Act,
Records.
the Open Meetings Act, yes, because it would need to be on the agenda for the trust and not for the city council.
No, we're going to have to just take no action.
Okay, we will take no action on this particular item.
I'm gonna leave the money spending to the expert who just left the podium. However, in context, the city, generally speaking, the city always does the construction for all the authorities, as a general rule. But if the money's budgeted in the authority, then
It's budgeted in the authority, I know for a fact.
Okay, we'll take no action on this particular item, move to item 15.
Yeah. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, we'll see it in December.
And that's not going to cause us,
No, there won't be any issues. It'll be fine.
Does she make sure she understands
Katie understands. Yeah. Okay.
I would say that Katie drove down here from Tulsa, so if you have any questions or
no, we're just in the wrong piggy bank. That's what happened. It's all good. Thank you so much for being here. Drive careful.
15.
Item 15, Mr. Lyons.
Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve an ordinance to close for public use 4 easements and 1 right-of-way or utility reserve recorded in Book 444, page 520, Book 464, page 73, Book 3889, page 407, and Book 46, page 1110 in the Oklahoma County Clerk's Office and lying in the southwest quarter of Section 34, Township 12, North Range 2, west of the Indian Meridian, Oklahoma County, Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr.
Brandon.
Lyon. Sorry for the long description. This item is related to Marlowe. Marlowe, I don't know if it's lane or drive, but it's immediately adjacent to Glenhaven Addition that's being developed right now. Marlowe is not quite the city standard. It's a dead-end road. It doesn't go anywhere. And so what we've been doing is working with the developer to get the road converted to a utility easement. The city does not have any interest in the road portion itself, but there are utilities, franchise, and a water well. And so it will help assist the developer. It'll also assist the city in reducing maintenance of a road that's not really does not function as a road.
Also, you might discuss that in our consent agenda, there was a permanent utility easement given by Glenhaven as well.
Yes, sir. There were two easements, one from Glenhaven and one from the adjacent shopping center to the west. Yeah, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Go ahead. I want Brandon to, while he's here, talk about further information.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council? Hearing or seeing none. You wanted to do something on further information?
Brandon, go ahead.
Sure. We were notified that there were errors in our building report, and so we worked with our third-party vendor to correct the software that generates the report, and we reissued the permit report all the way back to when we started using that software. So from May 2021 to September 2023, they're up on our website, and we got those corrected.
Was there anything during the process that you guys found mistakes or errors? There was nothing intentional, nothing was done to deceive anybody. It was just was glitching the software, correct?
That is correct. It was a software error that was reading the report multiple times. So a building permit may show up multiple times through the life of that permit, when the intention is just to show it right when it's issued.
So nobody deliberately went in there and hit
No,
the
sir.
button 2 or 3 times to make it look like there was more houses being built, correct?
No, that would be a lot of work, and that would have not been what we did. It was a software glitch.
And you fixed it, all right?
We have fixed it, and once we issue the October one, we'll double check and make sure before we issue it again.
You went back and corrected January, or how long did you go back?
May 2021.
May of 2021,
So-
you went back and corrected those reports, and
Yes,
they're
so-
online.
So on the website, it shows updated building reports, so it supplants what we had originally issued.
And Josh, I'm sure you're prepared if anybody questions that, you're up to speed or will be up to speed to make any releases. Is that correct? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bundy. Appreciate it. Again, is there anybody that has anything to bring before the council? Hearing or seeing none, we're hereby adjourned. I call to order the Midwest City Municipal Authority. We have 3 discussion items on this agenda. Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve October 24th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 2.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving supplemental budget adjustments to the following funds for 23-24, increasing the water fund revenue transfer in, 1.3 million expenditures for water, 1.3 million wastewater fund revenue transfers, and 43 of 375,000 expenditures of wastewater, the 375 stormwater revenue transfer in, 325 in expenditures out of 325. Same for the water fund expenditures of 300 and the wastewater fund of 375. These are normally in consent, but we had a discussion item.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 3, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, of possible action awarding the bid to and approving a professional services contract with Howard Construction, Inc. in the amount of $169,000 to drain and clean the west reactors of the moving bed biofilm reactor and install Wave Tech at the Water Resources Recovery Facility.
Can I stop?
Mr. Streets will answer that.
Honorable Mayor, Council, City Manager.
Thank you.
This is important, this is an important piece to helping solve some of the problems of the work. This is actually step 3 or 4. We've already taken several steps with the engineer. Staff at the plant have already started moving some of the media, the old media, and installing new media in preparation for this. We only had 1 bid. This particular person is qualified. They've been vetted by our engineer, and they will be out there to help drain it, inspect it, to determine what might have been the problem, and then obviously install the proprietary WaveTex media. And I want to say that without Carrie's help to help facilitate, she put together the contract, the RFP, the RFQ, and all of the work that was done to try to get this on the council agenda. So I want to thank her publicly. She's done a great job.
I assume that Carrie and Paul will get a report back as soon as we get this installed and get it operational to see if we corrected this problem.
Yes, it's going to take some time. I will tell you that even after it gets installed, there will be some engineering reports as requested by the city manager's office and council. They'll receive a draft of that report after they've had an opportunity to drain it and evaluate it. And then obviously it will take some time for the media itself to grow biofilm and actually become effective at treating the wastewater. But the good news is we're miles ahead of where we were. We just have a long ways to go.
And this is the curtain.
Correct. This is the drapery, the curtain.
Yeah.
Which we
We
hope
talked
will not
about.
be a home to snails. We would like that.
Okay, I have a question really quickly. So this is the one, Paul, is that what you guys are referring to as the curtain piece?
WaveTex media, I can't see it from here.
Yeah,
It's
but it
essentially
looks-
it's a vertical curtain.
Yeah, it looks like it has some kind of plant life to it. It's all green at the bottom.
Well, it might be. I suspect the picture that was used is probably one been in use, and that will, and a lot of times the media or the biofilm that grows on it will have that look. I'll let Carrie answer the questions.
I was just curious if that actually is plant life, that they use somehow in that to like trap what they keep referring to, I think is the sludge for it. I was just,
Yeah, sorry, Carrie Evenson, Assistant Public Works Director. Should just be a microbial biofilm, so it's microorganisms. Sometimes microorganisms will give a tint to it, but in this instance, because there's no chlorophyll associated with these bacteria, it'll be, usually it's a gray to a brownish black color. So it's not exciting like that.
it looked very friendly, like
Doesn't it look
very,
very
you know what I
friendly?
mean? Like, we've got bamboo with like a curtain around it, and it's gonna catch all the
It's an excellent
sludge
marketing
and-
picture, but I have a feeling ours will look different once it's been in the wastewater for a few months.
So with that being said, the chair would entertain a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned, and I call to order the Midwest City Hospital Authority. We do have a consent agenda with this, and I would entertain a motion to approve.
second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned. Thank you for being here tonight, and happy Thanksgiving.